Hello everyone and welcome to another hacking tutorial video. Today we're going to learn two different ways to make a wave swinger, chair swing ride. The one that you see in front of you right now is using some custom ride pieces made by SpaceK, which I will put a link to on YouTube. And then the other option that we'll look at is using the suspended floorless coaster on a little bit larger scale. But this hacking tutorial uses some similar methods to what we've looked at before. The method here with the SpaceK vehicles is a little easier than the other one. The other one is kind of advanced, but I'll show you it's not too hard, and you don't have to get too worried about how messy it looks. But we can definitely work through that. But we're going to use some shoestring and splitting hacks as you might have already learned from some of these other rides. And then we'll make this. Your theming can be up to you. This is one that I've knocked out that's kind of a copy of something Robbie92 did in his upcoming park, Jazzland. So thanks to Robbie for the inspiration for this one. I think just before we start, it's been kind of fun to make this little park expand as we go from the various hack rides. So we'll definitely be continuing that and turning this little guy into a full-fledged park with every single ride having some kind of a hack that we're going to learn in these streams. So let's get to it. This one is actually not that difficult. You'll notice that these rides, once this gets going again, swings out pretty far. So this being SpaceK's ride, swings out further than the suspended coaster does. So in my opinion, proportional to the RCT Peep, a 4x4 square works best. For the suspended coaster, I think a 6x6 works best. And you can see this if you go to my video for Faria de Flamingo. There's a chair swing in there that I did with the 6x6, and I think that looks more proportionally in scale with those trains and how it swings out. So we're going to learn the 4x4, which is this guy here, and how that works. And then we're also going to learn the 6x6, which I promise it's not that difficult, even though this looks like a mess. So we'll learn how to build both of these. But we'll start here because this is the easy one. You'll note if we get rid of the underground here, we're doing pretty much the same thing that we did before. We have our starting track, we have our control track underneath, the red one, and then we also have our actual ride track here in yellow. So let's get rolling on this one. You can use any track that you want. I'm going to use Mini Coaster just because I can. It really doesn't matter. Before we get into that, go into the cheats menu using OpenRCT. So these are all based on OpenRCT. You can do these in vanilla, but it's a lot more difficult and probably not worth your time. So go get OpenRCT. It is free. And then go into the ride cheats menu here. I just enable them all except for allow building track at invalid heights, because sometimes you can mess that one up, or using that allows you to build on the half tile, and sometimes you can accidentally do that, which we don't want to do this time, so I'm going to leave that open. You really don't need all of these checked, but you will need like arbitrary ride type changes, show vehicles from other track types, allow chain on all track pieces, and some other ones here like ride type changes I already said. So it's a good practice just to enable them all. All right, so we're going to start out here, and we're going to build our station. But first of all, let's just for reference here mark out a 4x4 plot. So plonk right there is what we want to do for our ride itself. So let's get our first thing. So this station can go anywhere, really. I generally put it where I want my entrance and exit. So you'll see over here, this is the same setup. Let's turn around. The station goes right through here in the middle, and you can see the exit comes out this side. Then I rotated that entrance, and the queue line happens behind there. So you can do it whichever way you want, but we'll go here and do this. Because the ride is multiple cars long, so you can see this is the SpaceK Wave Swinger 40. This is a 12 car, and you'll notice with the little white cube here, this is the same idea as the Ferris wheel that we did earlier. We're going to operate this in shuttle mode, but the whole train's got to fit in here, And because we're operating it in shuttle mode, we also need a second station. So we kind of have a dummy station. So let's go invisible again so you can kind of see. All right, so we built our station here. It doesn't need to be any more than a couple of tiles long, just so long as you can get your entrance and your exit in there. Once you do that, then you're done. The rest of the train can just spill out the back. So what we're going to do is just drop down and be compact. This can go anywhere that you want, but I want to put it here just so that it lets me be compact, so we're not really taking up too much other space. And it also lets me place this kind of where I want it, and then we also get the full length, because we need to be able to fit all 12 of these cars from the front of the station here, out the back, and down without going into the second station. So you need to be just at least that far. You don't need to be any further than that. So just trying to be efficient. All right. So then before we do this, because this is essentially runs suspended from this track, and this is more or less by trial and error, I have this guy a 1 up essentially, so you can kind of see the height markings here. There's a 1 and that's at +2. So let's go ahead and build that track. Wave swingers in real life run clockwise, so we're going to go clockwise. So we're just going to run this up here. Now you can make it flat, just 4 banked corners around if you want to do that. The other option that you can do, which I've done here, is put it at an angle, because the real ones, once they go up, they kind of swing at this elliptical rotation, so you get that sort of up and down motion, the wave motion, which makes up the wave swinger name. So what I use instead is a helix. So we're going to use the up helix, small, and then we're going to go here on the other side, and then we're going to click this turn again, and we're going to use the down helix. So basically we're just making a circle just tilted on its side with the helix pieces. And we've made this going in the clockwise direction because that's the way that we want the coaster to travel. All right, so now we get into our hacks, which is just our merges. So this is the part where it's easy to screw up because of order of operation. So pay real close attention to how we're going to do this. So first thing we have to do is delete one of these, and then we're going to make the entrance into here, which is going to be backwards, because we're going to back into this circle, and then we're going to stop it, and we're going to turn it forwards again. So you're going to go forwards out of the circle. So we're going to build another curve here, then another one, and then we're going to curve out just like this. All right, so that's all well and good, but when you do a reverse merge, which is what this is, so it's going to go in forwards, go around for a little while, stop, and then it's going to go backwards. When we go backwards over that merge again, we want it to continue around the circle and not go back out the way we came. When you're doing a reverse merge, you always build the exit first and then the entrance second. So this is the entrance, and then this will be the exit. So we're going to delete this again, and then we're going to recomplete our helix here. So that helix is completed. And now, here I'll remove this exit so it's a little more clear. You can see we have our entrance in here, which is not connected. So we're going to right-click again, and we're going to build this and connect back into the oval. So there we are. It's connected in. That's correct. Now we're going to leave that alone here for a minute while we set up this other one. So we're going to curve here. We're going to go ahead and get this up to the same elevation as this guy, which is right there. And then we're just going to go for a little bit. Basically what we need to do is get the entire train. So if we look over at this one, we want to get that entire 12-car train and that white block between this S-bend and the end here. Now, that block is set up so that it's exactly 1 tile wide, so that when we are using shuttle mode and we hit the end and it automatically reverses back in the other direction, only the white block is beyond this merge. So the white block is going to go this way and down, and then the rest of the coaster is going to go that way. So we'll build this out here. This is longer than it needs to be, but it really doesn't matter. And then we're going to delete this guy. And then we're going to delete this guy here. Again, it can be any one of these back here so long as the entire train is passed. So I could delete that one, I could delete this one, I could delete this one, whatever it may be, so long as the train's passed. And this might be a trial and error thing, so you might have to go through and just test it 1 or 2 times just to make sure that you have enough space for it. If you're building this on a 6x6 rather than the 4x4, you're going to have a longer train, so this will have to adjust a little bit. This kind of hacking, as I said before, is trial and error. And I've done all the error for you, so you can just do the trial part and make it work just fine. So that's the intention anyway. So now we're going to build these reverse points. Again, this is a reverse merge. So what did we say before? We're going to build the exit first, and then we're going to build the entrance. So this is the exit, exit, and now we're going to go back and we're going to build the entrance. So straight piece here, and straight piece here. Done. Now we need to merge this guy. Even though we're moving the train backwards, this is a straight merge, so 1 into 2. When you're doing a straight merge, not a reverse merge, it is 1 into 2. So we're going to go 1 into 2. So this tan or peach color into the green. 1 into 2. Done. Okay, easy enough. So now we're almost there already. This is a pretty simple one. So let's make this invisible here, and we're going to drop one down. And I've been setting these at -4. There's no real reason to go at any height. You can kind of do whatever you want. The only reason I have it down here is so it's underground. Like I said, the only thing that you're seeing down here is, let's make this invisible. You can see the dot down here, the square. That is what's hidden. It's just a cube because it makes it a little easier to miss if you're looking underground. If you use one of the traditional rides, it doesn't have this like special cube like you'll see on the suspended coaster. There's just the front car down there, kind of like we had on the 2x2 little coaster here, which if you look at the Wild Mouse on the blue track here, which takes off, you can see that there's 2 cars down there, and they do fill with peeps. It's just something that happens. Same with the bobsled here. You can really send down as many as you want. You can send half the train down there. It really doesn't matter. But the idea is that's the controlling piece down there, and then up above you have your visible stuff, which is the stuff that looks good. All right, so what we're going to do, if you remember here, we have our 4x4 space. We want to put the station for this area underneath of that 4x4 space, so we're going to drop this down. It does not have to be in line on top of or underneath of the main station. I know I've done that in the other ones. It just has to be on the pad, because if it's not, then the peeps are going to walk off to the side and then kind of teleport down in there, and it's just not going to look nice. You'll be a little less happy with it. But don't make the station any larger than the pad. You can make it shorter, but don't make it larger. All right, because the Space Case ride here is operating on the car ride aspect, so this is a standard speed. It does not go any faster than this, though you could make it go faster with a chain lift. But this is a driven ride, so when you open it, it just goes. You don't have to put a chain lift down here, which is nice because you don't have that chain lift sound, which can be kind of annoying in these merges. We don't need a chain lift down here, so we're just going to build a big oval. This oval is the control for the ride, so this is how long your ride is going to be. You can be any length you want it to be. It doesn't have to be... It doesn't have to be any kind of magic space. You can make it as long as you want or as short as you want. It just determines your cycle time. At the end, I always put in a couple of breaks just because I think it helps this naturally slow down a little bit before it comes in. It just looks a little nicer before it kind of parks itself. So that's just a technicality kind of piece. Because we've used shuttle mode, again, you need to pay attention to this since the main track here has 2 stations. There's station 1, which we have here. Let's look at this guy right here. Station 1 is this guy right here is our main one, and station 2 is the other one down here. You need to make sure that on your control track down at the bottom here, you're also looking at station 1. So these 2 guys have to talk to each other. If they don't talk to each other, being the same station, then it's not going to work. You don't need to put huts down here because the game is, you're basically tricking the game into thinking that this station, when the cube gets to this station, it's actually gotten to this station up top. So simple enough. All right, so let's look down here again. We need to do one more merge because if you remember right, we headed out of the station here. We bounced off the end of the peach track here. So now we're going backwards and this guy's spinning around and then we need to send it forwards again. So we're going to get rid of this one here. And this is another reverse merge. So you build your exit first and then you build your entrance into it. So there we are. And now we're going to go here and do a straight merge again. So 1 into 2, 1 into 2. Merged. Done. The key thing about this merge is that it has to be after this entire train here has passed that last merge point. So it's gotten all the way off of that piece of track that merges in, which is right here. This is more than enough just because I've tested it, I know. But if it's not, you can extend this out even further and see. All right, so now we're going to click back on our main track here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to change to the Space Wave Swinger 40. It's named that because the Zierer Wave Swinger, which is what these are mostly as, has 40 seats on one of its models. And if you build this as a 6x6, the amount of seats that are in the ride here is actually 40. So kind of a neat little trick there, or trivia, I suppose. But in my opinion, I think the 4x4 looks better for peep scale, so that's the one that we're going to use. All right, so we've used 12 vehicles here. So that is essentially what fits on this 4x4 plot of circle. If you build it bigger, you're going to have to use a bigger thing. It doesn't need to be a circle. It can be anything. I mean, this hack is expandable to any kind of size. So anyway, we've gotten this. We've gotten our Wave Swinger, 1 car, 12 cars per train. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to change the operating mode to shuttle mode. Shuttle mode will require you to have 2 stations, as I said. We have this one underground. I would recommend putting a piece of pathway underneath here and just putting a staff member down there, just in case your ride does break down. I mean, it doesn't have to, so you can leave it there. All right, so now what we're going to do is test this guy. If we look underground here, you can kind of see that the vehicles are suspended a little bit. And we're going to pause right here, so we can take a look at this. All right, so it's going to bounce off the end, and jump back and forth here just so you can kind of see it as I pause. So you see that the cube has split away from the other, and now we're going backwards, and then this guy should be getting ready to take the S-bend here, as it does. Now it hits onto this, and the whole thing is onto the ride now, and we still have a little bit of ways to go before we get to the end. So we have plenty of space here, so it's going to bounce and head back the other direction, and then come into the brakes and stop. And now, since it's on test mode, we're going to take off and we're going to do our standard cycle. One thing of note that I found is I used a wild mouse track underneath when I had first tested this, and for whatever reason, the tight corners slow the cube down just a little bit, and the seats kind of swing back inwards a little bit. I wasn't super thrilled with that, but the medium-sized corner works just fine, so I'm just using the mini coaster. Again, this can be whatever length it wants to be. You do whatever, and that's just fine. Okay, so now we're essentially done. This one's a pretty easy, straightforward one. So now to make things easy, you just make this invisible. You can use Crooked House. You can use any of the operating modes, really. You can use Elevator. You can use any of those. And then this guy here, we're also going to use Crooked House on and make that invisible. So there we are. That's everything. In order to open this, we will actually, let me go back. Again, it doesn't have to be the same ride. You can use whichever ride you want, but I did not put the exit there, so now we have the exit. So let's test this out. Let this guy go do its thing. It doesn't take too long. Like I said, this is the much easier method of doing it, sort of the more modern way to do it. Pretty simple, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. So we're going to make this one Crooked House. There we go. So there you have it. That is a swing ride. Now all it needs is your beautiful theming, and you can make that look great. Up underneath, you can make this invisible if you want. It doesn't need to be. I usually just paint them black. Then it's there, and it's not another one that's sitting there. But either way, congratulations. You have finished a Wave Swinger. Now, if you want a challenge, or you don't want to download the custom scenery piece, let's say you're doing a non-custom scenery thing, we can do this. So this is a Wave Swinger that uses the suspended swinging coaster. Let's test this out right now at, say, 20 miles an hour. Why not? So you can kind of see how this swings along here. The more we speed this up, the more the cars swing out because we're using the suspended coaster. So you can kind of see that look on the whole thing. The way that we did this, so there's a couple of different things behind this. We're basically using the hack that we used for the Condor and for the little kids ride here. We're going to use boat hire mode, and we're going to split the front car off and send it down at the bottom. The added thing to this one is that we're taking all the vehicles and we're giving them some space between the vehicles just to make it look a little better. I mean, you can fill this thing chock full of coaster train with 30 or 40 cars around there, which is fine. Your capacity is going to go through the roof. I just don't think it looks as nice. So the way that I get around that is I split the train up into individual cars and put them back together slightly further apart. Now, this is possible to do in Visual Studio. which is a coding program that you can open up and basically adjust this on the fly and make these spaced out a little more. I just don't know how to use it. It's not my forte, but this kind of thing is, and it's not as difficult as it looks. It's just tedious. So I'll show you how to do it. It's not as tedious as you might expect. Again, I've worked out the trial for you, so you don't have to worry about the error parts. This is a definite trial and error method. So essentially what we're doing here, let's look at this before we do. We have all the same pieces. We have our main track, which is red. We have our control track down here, which is blue. We have our dummy ride track, which is yellow. And then the white track here is splitting. You'll notice on this hack and some of the other ones, this splitting track and the main track, or this one on the same. This one just has so much extra track that when you're done, you might just want to delete it. So I've made this as a different ride vehicle, or a ride track, so you can delete this when you're done if you want. But there is a key piece there. If you do delete this, it will often delete the piece here. So realizing now that my test one doesn't actually show this properly. So I will show it properly when we do the one here. So if you intend to delete this, I will show you the best way to do that. So what we're going to do is send this out. It goes up the lift hill just so we get some height to do this with. You can do it wherever. All this squiggle track here is to slow it down enough after this chain lift at 4 miles an hour to get it at just the right speed here that it's going to roll back, and it's going to split into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces. And then we're going to split it once more into another 9 pieces because this is an 18-car train. So we're going to split it into all 18 parts, and then we're going to put these back together, all 9 of these split apart, and then all 9 of these put back together at some spacing, and then we're going to throw this first set of 9 in behind or in front of the second set of 9, and then or the second set of 8, and then our first car is going to go down here again and be our control up underneath. You can see him cruising around here on the bottom. So let's do it. Not that difficult, I promise. Promise. We can do this. So this is a 6x6. So we're gonna go to 6x6 here, and we're gonna plonk this down. Let's call it right here. Let's make sure I'm not looking underneath of anything. We can avoid that guy there. All right. So first things first is we're going to go down here and we're going to put our station in place. Same thing applies. Your station only needs to be as long as your space to put your entrance and your exit. It doesn't have to be any longer than that. All you have to do is send enough for the ride track behind it. And you notice 18 cars actually doesn't take up that much space, so that's probably enough. So this can be anywhere in here, really. I just put it here so then you have your entrance and your exit. I usually set it one inside so then the guests wait right at the edge of the ride rather than one out if you set it right on the edge. All right, so now what we're going to do is get this up and up to this hacking spot. So we're going to turn the corner here, and just to make sure that we have the exact same dimensions here, I'm going to use the same amount here. So we're at 0 and we're going to go up to 8. So I'm using the lift hill piece, going up to 8, level it out, turn off the chain lift, and then we're going to do our curves here. This is entirely trial and error to get this spacing just right. You sometimes will need to do this a whole bunch of times, so that's why it's good to be able to use the time speed here, which is plus or minus on your keyboard as a shortcut. Highly recommend using that. So we're going to go look at this guy and see what we're doing. So just to make sure that we've got this right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 until we merge in. So it looks like we're merging on the 7th one. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So now we're going to get our second one here. And we're going to start that right there. So that is on that guy right here. So this is number 7, 7. And then this is number 8 right here. So we see that we built those two. And now we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we are out of space, so we're just going to cheekily make this a little bit larger. And so we have our 9, and then we're going to go up 2. You really don't need to go up 2, you just need to go up 1 because it won't go up onto the second piece, but we can do that, 1 and 2. Okay. All right, so like I said, we're using this extra track here, or extra ride, so that we can delete this when we're done if we want. But there are 18 of those cars, so we're going to change this over to the suspended swinging coaster. We want 1 train. We want 18 cars, and there we have it. So we're going to split this into in 2 different spots because you can't split them all at once because there are more vehicles per one section of track than like a single vehicle, for example. So you have to do 2 splits just to make sure you get it all. So we know that there's 9 pieces here that need to be split. So just for helpful purposes, we're going to mark that out. So we'll change this piece here, and we're going to say, all right, here's 1, 2, and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9. So there's number 9 right there. So we're going to start with this one just because it's easier to do it this way. And we're doing a reverse merge, which, as we learned for the other one, it is exit first, entrance second. So we're going to turn once, then we're going to delete this guy, turn second, we're going to delete this guy, 3, 4, clicks aren't taking tonight, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's 9 exits. So those are the exits first. Now we're going to build the entrance. So you click 1, and then it will automatically give you a curve because it's trying to connect up to this curve. So you got to keep clicking straight. And each time you click straight, and keep on going until you fill those all in. All right, so now what we do is drop it 1 just to give it a little bit of speed. And then we're going to use the brake here to slow it down because we want to make this split again. So you'll notice this split is on the hill. So we want to get this just enough that it goes up the hill. And then one of the cars is past the merge and one of the cars is before the merge. So one goes on top, one goes down on the bottom. So what we're going to do is set up this whole thing in just different pieces. So we go down 1, and then you'll notice there's a space, and then we're going to slope up, and then 1 more. So the back one, I put a brake on because you need a brake on one of them, and sometimes it matters which one you put the brake on. You'll notice just through trial and error that sometimes a minuscule change breaks the whole thing. So we're going to be consistent because we know this one works. This is a 9 mile/hour brake. Click to go. And we're going to slope up in 1. It's the only one you need the brake on. The other ones can go just fine without it. So we're going to just go 1 at a time here. Oops. Need the flat. The nice thing is, because they're all the same thing here, you will very clearly see if you mess something up because they should all look the same. And it does give a nice sort of happy feeling with how symmetrical or at least how aligned everything is. So let's keep on rolling. All right, number 8. And number 9. Okay, so there's step 2. So we have now split this into 9 parts, dropped it, and then come up. So now what we want to do is we want to send this straight out. So the flat bit here that we made, we want to continue this out, and then this is going to create the first layer. So we're going to start back here, and we're going to go through and delete all of the slopes. Because again, this is a reverse merge. So you should be able to repeat this now with me. You build the exit first, and then you build the entrance. It's our mantra. We're going to put it on a t-shirt. So let's go straight, and we'll go out to here, and then we're going to build a curve. You can build this at any length. It doesn't have. This is really arbitrary at this point. At this point, we're just putting them back together. The only thing that is not arbitrary is that they all want to line up in the same spot now. Because basically we split this apart, so this is going to be every other car that's coming down here, and now we want to put them back together at the same distance. You can put these back together, or you can run them all on different tracks. I mean, this hack, again, is able to be exploded into a bunch of different ways. There's a lot of different stuff you can do with this. This is kind of the basis to making the custom teacups and some other things like that. So this will be versatile if you really want to screw around with it. All right, so we're stopping at 8 with the curves right here because this next one here goes a larger curve and actually goes down underneath, and this is what's going to connect down into here. So we're going to take this guy and send it, and the reason it's this one and not any of the other ones is if you think of this through, think of the whole train moving along, that front car is always your control. It's the very front car, car number 1, that's your control car on all the rides. So when it reverses back and then goes up, you're going to have 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, all the way up to 18 cars. The front one here is going to be your first car. So we want to take the top one here and send him off and do his own thing. Then the rest of them go down and drop. So we are now going to level this back out and merge this back in. So we made our exit. Now we're going to make our entrance. If this is annoying anyone back here, we will, just so we don't have to listen to this thing, you will notice, well, you know what, we're going to just leave that alone. We'll come back to it. I was going to get rid of that message, but that will take a little bit more time. All right, so let's finish this up. 9 of these, they're all the same, all standard. Just note for all these merges, the way that you do merges is you have disable clearance checks on. That's literally all there is. There's nothing more to it. All right, so now that's the top level merge. So we have that all set. Right now, if you were to run this, you would basically split the trains apart and put them right back together at the bottom here. So let's go ahead and just complete this section. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on the top section here. Start with the very last one and just keep clicking the straight piece until it connects up. So this is a pretty compact version of this hack. You can make this as big or as small as you want. I just like the look of the compact nature, and it just doesn't take up as much space. It can get a little bit mind-boggling when you kind of look at the whole thing, but don't let that fool you. Just look at, I mean, you're matching the same thing, so if anything looks a little bit off, it probably is. So just pay attention to your consistency here. All right, so now we're going to build the second one. I noted earlier that the split is here on the incline, so you'll see this incline is continuous down here to the bottom side. So we have the one here at +7 that we exited on top, and then the lower one is going to be at +5. All right, so we're going to go down here, level at +5, and then we're going to run out here until we can turn the corner. And we're going to be in line with all these other ones here. So we will turn the corner here and be in line with that. Not going to build any of those straight bits yet because we'll build those later. Anyway, so now we go through and this is all the same. Doesn't matter which one you do. You can pick any of these. So don't get caught up on the differences of these, but you can notice I just went one too far there. So there's our catch for when you screw up is you can always tell because it just something doesn't look right. All right, like I said, not difficult, just a little time consuming. All right, so 4 more to do. Two more to do. Oh, we went down to 4 that time. Again, that's where, and now we're at 6. There we go. 5, last one. All right. there we have it. So now we're going to go back up to the top part here and connect these back again. Again, reverse merge. You know the drill. I'm not going to have to repeat it. So we're going to go through and connect up all of these boys, one at a time. And all it takes to develop this kind of hacking is really just learning the basics and then saying, all right, well, the basics were that. Let's try 2, and let's try 3, and let's try 4, and just trying to trial and error, playing around to get it to do what you want. All right, we've connected up this top bit. Now the last thing we're going to do is connect up, not that. We're going to use the straight piece here, and we're going to connect across, and then get this all back together. Okay, so now at that point, we're going to have 2 sets of 9 together once again, except for our first piece here. This is larger track, which we're going to send down here. We can go to whatever height it wants to be. Again, we're just going to pick -4 because why not? So just go down there. That'll pick up some speed. All right, now we want to put this back together. This selection of curves is just what I found worked and made it look good. So we're going to follow the same method here. What we'll do is we'll start on the bottom here because this one has the curves. So we're going to build it while we're looking at this one. So you can see it's a left or right-hand curve here, followed by 2 left-hand curves, 1 and 2. Then we're going to do a large S-bend with the large track left, large track right, another large track right. Then there's a straight piece right here. 2 more curves. Sorry, 1 more curve. So we want it to be right there. Then this is an S-bend to put it back, S-bend left. All right, so now we want to set this one in that same line there. So it wants to be in this line here. So let's, just to help us visualize this, if you hold control with the landscape tile, when you have it at a certain distance, you can do landscape in a line, which is something I just learned pretty recently, which is kind of a neat little trick. Useful for very specific situations such as this. All right, so now we're in that line. We can drop down whenever we want. We don't have to worry about this accidentally merging here because they're at 2 different angles to each other. So not a problem there. We're going to level this out at 5 because that's where we are. All right, and then we're going to merge together, and we should be good to go here, which we are. That's already merged itself because we're just merging together. It's a straight merge, so we don't have to worry about anything there. All right, so now we should have this all together, and let's build our main ride. So like I said, wave swingers operate in a clockwise direction. We're going to use the helix again. So this, in the inverted coaster and the suspended coaster, we can use the quarter tile or the quarter turn helix pieces. So we're going to use helix up to the right twice, and then we're going to use helix down twice on this side. So there we have it. And then we're going to do the same thing that we did for the other ride. So we're going to delete this. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to make ourselves the entrance to this, which remember, we're moving in, that's in this one, we have already set ourselves forward again. So on this one, we backed into the circle. On this one, we're going to go forwards into the circle. So a little bit different, because we had to spend the time getting these put back together. It makes sense to me anyway to send them all forwards again and then put them back together. It was just easier to work in my brain. You can do it however you want, but for the purposes of this video, we're just going to do it this way. All right, so we're going to back out backwards. So then this is going to enter forwards. You want to enter in the direction of travel. So merges always happen in the same direction of travel. I could not merge since we're going this direction, I could not merge a track in going backwards like in the other direction. It wouldn't work. So it's always same direction. Anyway, we're going to create a little gap here, and now once again complete this, because again, this is a, being that this is a straight merge, actually it doesn't matter at this point, so I'm getting my 2 merges confused, but this is a straight merge, 1-to-1. We're not changing direction, we're not doing anything, so we can just build this right back in. It's fine. And then this guy here, we're going to come down and connect up to. Let's see what that distance is. So it's 3. All right, so there we are. We're connected into that one, and now we need to build our dummy track below. So we'll make this invisible, utilizing suspended coasters just because that's what the standard, or that's what the vehicle is, so that's why I'm using it. You can use whatever you want, doesn't really matter. But we did say already we're making this at -4, so we're going to make this at -4. Once again, you keep your station within your limits of your work, just to make sure that it's there. Now, this ride, unlike the Space Cave vehicles, is not operating under its own power, so you do need a chain lift. So we're going to put the chain lift in here, and then we're going to do a big oval here that goes all the way around. All right, and then now I pull off the chain here at the end, and then I'm going to put 2 brakes, just again for aesthetic purposes only, just to slow it down a little bit and make it look all right. Okay. Now the other thing that we're going to do, just as I find, if you want to delete all this mess when you're done to save on object space, then if this merges straight into this track and you delete it, sometimes it will delete that piece of track you merged into. So what we're going to do is make a little spur of this track. So we're going to pull out this section here, put this out and here, and then we're going to build this back in. All right. So he can operate just fine, but he's got a little spur for us to merge into. Down here again, and then we're going to build this one curve piece in. So there we go. There is our hack. Complicated as it is, and it took us a little while, but it is pretty straightforward, I think. It's just following the same method over and over and over again to get what you want. Like I said, this split is speed dependent, unlike the other one where you just kind of threw it at the end and it bounced back in shuttle mode. This one is speed dependent. So what we're going to do is take our 18-car train here. We're going to make sure that the lift hill chain speed is set to 4 miles per hour. And before we do that, we have to change this to boat hire mode. Boat hire mode lets us operate it with a brake in the end and just kind of do whatever. Boat hire mode is incredibly useful. All right, so we use this lift hill to get up to the top or to the same level as this one. The reason I say it's at 4 miles an hour is because I know through my testing that once it exits this lift hill at 4 miles an hour, this curvature track gives it enough time to slow down to just the speed that we need, which is going to be slightly under 2 miles per hour to split off properly. And now granted, there's no guarantee this is going to work, because sometimes there are little nuances that you have to play around with, but that's part of it. So we're going to speed this up using our plus and minus keys here. Just move this along because this can be tedium and you don't want to sit here for an hour just watching your train move. All right, so first of all, we found our mistake. We didn't ever merge this in. So close that up, take this, and merge it in. These kind of mistakes happen, but the nice thing is usually it's going to show you where the mistake happened, which it did there. All right, so we're going to continue on and not going to screw it up this time, hopefully. All right, so let's keep this going, and once we get to the split here, let's slow it back down because, in my opinion, this is fun to watch. So we're still at double speed here, so we're actually moving pretty slow. But we're going to go up. We're going to just stop, and then let's pause it right here. So you can see each of the 9 pieces has split properly, which means the speed is correct. If you have one where there's 3 and one that there's 1 or something else like that, then adjust the speed of your lift hill or add more track. Usually that's what I do, or subtract the track, just depending on where the speed is. And then that should fix it all. All right, let's unpause here. We're going to drop down, we're going to hit that brake, and then we're going to come up, and then we're going to split it again. So there we go, let's pause it. You'll notice all 18 cars are apart. They're all in a nice line here just because this particular ride vehicle happens to be spaced very nicely in relation to the length of one piece of track. So they all line up quite nicely and look pretty good. All right, so here's the fun part. Here's where they come back together. So we'll unpause this, and now they're all going to curve. So there we go. We have every other car, as you'll notice before. So like here's the if you go back through here and you change the colors of the vehicle, here, let's do it like this. Let's say all these vehicles are going to be black, but then let's change the colors of vehicle 2 is going to be white. Vehicle 3 is going to be white, and you'll notice they actually run in reverse. So let's see here. So 2 is white. Let's make 3 black. We'll just make the even ones white so you can kind of see where we are. Vehicle 6. And I think you get the idea here when you look at it. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 are on the bottom, and then the odd numbers are on the top, except for 1, which would have been on the top if we curved in here, but he's got his own job to do. Number 1, which we'll paint in bright yellow just so you can kind of call that out separately. Number 1 is going to go down and do his own thing down there. All right. So now we are going to go down here, and he is going to stop in the station. You'll notice that this train is not in the loop yet. It's fine, totally fine. Because we're not changing the direction again, since we're already going forward, we're just going to keep on moving in the forward direction. So this can stop wherever it wants. By the time this guy gets through his first cycle down underneath, so let's make this visible again. By the time he gets around, this guy's going to be fully on. So from here on out, second cycle onwards, it's going to be just fine. So let's unpause this. And what you'll notice here is we use the chain lift. He's traveling at 4 miles an hour. Because we used 4 miles an hour for this lift hill, now you can change it up. Let's change this up to 25, why not? So now you can see all the guys are around here in a circle. And there we go, slows down to a stop, and there you are. So again, this green track down here can be made in any shape you want, in any length you want, that adjusts the ride cycle. Again, this hack is not circle dependent. You could make this an oval. You could make it all sorts of amoeba shaped, whatever. It's not dependent on that kind of a shaping. So that's the ride. So now we want to go invisible. What we can do is go through here, and if you want to get rid of this guy, all your beautiful hacking that you did, if you don't want to look at it anymore because it makes your eyes cross, you can demolish it, and this will still run just fine. The only caution that I would give to that is if you want to reset the ride for whatever reason, you've deleted it and you can't do it. So what I typically do for this kind of thing is I will take this track and I will call it something like delete me. Leave it there, and then when I am done with my park, at the end of the thing, right before I submit it to whatever website I'm going to submit it to, I will go into my rides list, look up the one here that says delete me in all caps, and then I'll delete them all, and then we're good. It gives you some more object space to work with, but really that's the only 2 reasons I could think you would ever want to delete this is either for object space or to prevent accidental merging. Like if you have one of your visible coasters going over top of this and accidentally merge into it, that can be a bad time. So you can delete it so you don't have to deal with that. But honestly, what I do in a lot of these is I will build this way the heck off to the side. Like if this swing is over here somewhere, you can build this whole thing, just run it all the way over here, do your split, and then run it all the way back. And then this is out of the way, and then all you have to deal with is one outrun and one in-run that you don't accidentally run into. It just makes it cleaner and easier. Anyway, so now we're going to take this guy, and we're going to get rid of the visible, or the dummy track here, so we're going to make that invisible. And then we're going to also take the main track here, and we're going to make this invisible as well, so you can kind of do whatever you want here for that. So it will drop down just a little bit when you make it into some of the different pieces. So it just depends what you want to go with. So we're a little bit too low here. We should have made it one higher, just like this guy, so it doesn't clip into the ground. But you get the idea. You can adjust that to whatever height you want. But there you have it. So that's a 6x6 operating swing ride, which I think for this kind of setup looks better. Or a 4x4 swing ride, which I think for this kind of setup looks better in this RCT peep scale. I think this is just kind of cute size with the 4x4 platform. You can kind of cut the edges on here as well, make it look a little more circular-like, and be done with it. So that is your swing ride. So now we have 4 cute little rides here in our park. We have our 2x2 hacked flat ride here. we have our Ferris wheel here, we have the Condor here, and we have the swing ride right here. So, if there's a specific hack that you would like to see, such as a screaming swing, such as, well, anything really, send me a note, post something in the YouTube channel, and just let me know what you'd like to see, and I will get to it. I've got a list of my own, so there are more coming just as we get to them. And hopefully you guys will enjoy that as well. But hopefully this is clear. Please let me know in the comments if there's anything you think I can do better or different. There are lots of ways to do hacking, so this is not necessarily the only way to do something. There's plenty of other ways. I find that my ways are sometimes pretty complicated, but in my opinion, they're also pretty clean and hopefully relatively easy to understand. So hopefully that is the case for you guys too, but please let me know otherwise. I always appreciate the feedback and just the time knowing that you guys like what I'm putting out, and it's definitely what you're looking for. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, thank you. Definitely check out some of the other videos and let me know if there's something specific you'd like to see. Alrighty, thank you very much, and enjoy playing the game.